for episode 10. We've been doing this for 10 episodes, guys.
Is this the 10th one?
This is the 10th episode, man.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been here this long. Welcome back to the Smarter High, folks.
Welcome back.
It is the homie Alex.
Yep.
With your boy Mark here. Akira on the wheels of steel.
Yep.
Hello.
It's good to be back, guys. We had a couple delays this week, or last couple weeks. Yeah. I was just pooped last week after that event over at Daylight. And you were at a wedding.
Yeah, my sister got married. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Where were you guys again?
Western Massachusetts in the Berkshires.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful up there. No cell service. It was a camp. You know what I mean? Got to take the canoes out on the lake and swim in the lake and stuff. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Man, I could use something like that.
It really was reinvigorating for sure.
Did you guys drive up there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like 4-ish hours.
Nice. I got to think about that. I got to take my nephew somewhere. It would be perfect for him because he needs a place where there's no social media.
There you go. Don't we all for a little bit? It was kind of nice, but then when you get, you pass, you're driving out of the camp, you get back into town, and then all the Instagram things come, bing, 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 like, oh shit.
That sounds like the perfect place for him. Well, thanks for coming back, folks. We are glad to have you here for our 10th episode. We have a kind of a special episode here. We've been kind of teasing that we were going to do this for a while. Today's the mental health episode.
Hey, mental health.
How is that mental going? But there's a few things I wanted to get started with before we moved on here, because there has been some relevant news in the cannabis space.
Oh yeah, this blew my mind here.
Yeah, this was coming. So
okay.
I think last weekend, they finally made Delta 8, well, not illegal, but they're going to regulate it, right? Delta 8 is the first THC analog that you saw in like smoke shops and gas stations and stuff like that. It's everywhere now.
It has since exploded.
Oh yeah. It's exploded. It's there's many reasons for that. I mean, Delta 8 and the THC analog market was a symptom of bad cannabis policy across the country.
Yeah,
right?
Why would we even? Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't exist if they just made reasonable cannabis laws, but
right.
because capitalism finds a way. So you want to, when the 2018 Farm Bill made hemp illegal in all of its forms, they weren't aware that you could make THC out of hemp.
Right. Or
that it could be chemically reproduced, which is how they do it. They reproduce it chemically through a process called isomerization, I think is the word. But anyway.
Can I ask just about Delta 8? I wanted to just make sure for my own sake, because I read stuff and it says like Delta 9 THC is regular THC. Is that true? Because I used to see Delta 8 and Delta 9 and they were both on the shelf like analogs.
So Delta 9 is the primary THC molecule found in cannabis, like actual cannabis at the dispensary. So most people, if they've used cannabis before that wasn't, Delta 8 or hemp, they're familiar with Delta 9.
Okay.
Because that's the one that everybody's used since time immemorial.
Right. But so then what's with the Delta 9 products that would be on the shelves? You know what I mean?
So the Delta 9 products that we have up there, they've been added to the product, right? Because once you synthesize Delta 9 and you just have like an oil of Delta 9 base, you can just add it to anything. And what they do is they combine all of these THC products into one. So instead of just Delta 8, now it'll have Delta 8, THCP, THCO,
THCA, Delta 9 as well. Yeah, okay.
So,
that's just like the one I've got in my thing.
Yeah. So what they've done is to make that product more effective is they've combined all of those THCs, and what happens is something called the entourage effect.
Okay, yeah.
And the entourage effect simply means that the more THC molecules or cannabinoids you combine, the better they kind of work together, right? So when you go into a shop and you see these products and it's got more than one type of THC in it, that's what they're trying to achieve.
Gotcha.
And certain combinations can be stronger than others.
And it probably works different on different people, too, because I had a couple that I tried, I didn't like it, you know what I mean, or it make me feel weird, but then other ones are pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's synthesized THC, so the effects can be different, definitely. There was a time when it was definitely weaker, like in terms of your high. There was a time.
Early on.
Yeah, now, because New Jersey specifically has limits on the edibles, for instance, right, is 100 milligrams per product in the Jersey market.
Okay.
That doesn't exist out in the hemp market. So there are like gummies that say 9,000 milligrams on the bottle.
Like the flashlights they sell online, 10 million lumens, right? Yeah,
and
100 million lumens. It might as well be.
I wouldn't trust those flashlights or some of these THC products. Now, I do have some of these in the shop, but
that's why it's $2 on Wish.
I curate ours to make sure that they're coming from a reputable source. I know where that source is. Because of the reason this law is kind of good is because this market wasn't regulating itself, right? You can't always source where they're getting their stuff from. Some of the stuff was starting to come from outside of the country, like China. And once that starts happening, you can't account for how this product was made. Right. So, you have people overdosing, which overdosing in cannabis is not what you think it is. It's just being really high, right? Or you might go to the hospital.
Or go to sleep.
Sleep, eat your fridge. But what really happens is, if you go to the hospital with a cannabis overdose, they're just going to give you fluids and tell you to sit the hell down.
Right.
Because time is really the only thing that can get you out of that. But anyway, since this market is unregulated, people have had adverse experiences, right? And that was just going to continue. Kids kind of have access to this because before this law that just popped up, anybody could sell. There wasn't even a 18, and plus there was no law, so you could sell this shit to anybody up until last week. But let's just go. I want to read to you. I'm not going to go over the dangers and all that because we're familiar with that. But let's just okay. So when does the new Delta 8 hemp rules take effect? Effective immediately, Delta 8 products cannot be sold to anyone under the age of 21, and by the second week in October, they must be removed from all store shelves and placed under the regulatory purview of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission.
The CRC.
Yep. The commission will test and regulate the products the way they do other cannabis products in dispensaries. So, okay, the next one is where will Delta 8 intoxicating hemp be sold now? Delta 8 products will only be available at approved dispensaries licensed by the CRC. Sellers will need a license from the CRC and comply with all CRC rules concerning licensing, testing, selling, and packaging.
Wow.
The new law stipulates that the CRC will work with the Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control to adopt separate rules and regulations regarding the sale of intoxicating hemp beverages by liquor stores. So I don't know if you've seen all these new drinks.
I've heard of them.
Seltzers or whatnot. They have THC in them, and because alcohol has different laws that govern its use, they will need to have a separate law that regulates that part of the industry. So. Can Delta 8 products be used for medicinal purpose like Delta 9? The new law does not address this issue, right?
Nice.
There's a lack of scientific research and clinical trials pertaining to Delta 8. Experts agree more information is needed. So that's heartening, right? There might be some more research coming that will, because it doesn't mean Delta 8 products are not useful. It needs, clinical trials and research to find out what parts of it could be useful.
It was very much a Wild West situation.
It was the Wild West. So the last part is let's just talk about the penalties, guys, because I'm sure any potential smoke shop owners want to know how much trouble you can get in for ignoring this law. The new law establishes penalties for an owner or operator of a business who sells an intoxicating hemp product in violation of these regulations. First offense, $100. And that ain't bad. We'll just move on. For second offense, up to $1,000, still not too bad. And then the third offense is $10,000, and after that, you might want to stop selling
Delta 8. That hurts a little bit. Yeah, because this is going to be necessary because nobody is going to stop doing this until you start sending in inspectors and whatnot. Because plus these things are so popular, man.
They are so popular, and smoke shops rely on this income. A lot of them do because they keep on moving the bar on what's legal to sell in a smoke shop. So the smoke shop industry, you're always chasing success. Success is a moving target because every so often they just pull one of your profit makers right off your shelves, right? Novelty urine, right?
That's illegal now?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It's if you're selling it for the purpose of passing a drug test, it's illegal, right? Which can be argued, right? I
like the flavor.
Yeah, I like pouring. I like golden showers. Or just trying to be
synthetic. Golden showers.
Yeah,
right?
I'm just trying to be hygienic. There's no why can't I pour urine on myself, officer? But yeah,
country.
It's always a moving target. Success in the smoke shop.
You know what I was thinking too with Delta 8, right? Mm-hmm. This became appealing to people because we talk a lot about like stigma around marijuana and stuff like that, and mm-hmm. using it, and weed smokers and reefer madness. Mm-hmm. This was like what I saw it as was an option, and I saw it like function as such, an object for people to get it, and then they can do it, but they're not smoking weed, but they're still like hanging with the weed smoking people. You know what I mean? It's like
weed light,
like an introductory thing. Yeah,
they're like cannabis light, right? You could use it and not get as high as everybody else, but the only thing that was doing that is because it's a different type of THC. Right. It's the same THC.
You haven't smoked
molecule.
a blunt or a bong or whatever. It's like a little colorful thing that tastes like blueberry, and you buy it in the store. It's very much.
It was a good entrance into the market for people that wanted to try other stuff. You run into Delta 8 in some smoke shop, and then you say, oh, maybe I like weed.
Right.
But yeah, Delta 8 will continue this story across the country. It'll, be made illegal or placed under regulation for years now. I still think that federal legalization is coming soon, within the next 5-10 years. So we will continue to report on the story, folks, because it's interesting stuff.
Definitely.
But let's move into our main topic today, Mr. Mental Health. Mr. Mental Health. Let's talk about statistics real quick, guys. Let's just do some United States good old statistics. What am I talking about? So just a short list. 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. experience mental illness each year, translating to more than 50 million Americans. 1 in 20 adults in the U.S. experience a serious mental illness, such as bipolar disorder, depression, schizophrenia. Among the youth, age 6 to 17, 1 in 6 children experience a mental health disorder each year, which is increasing rapidly. In 2022, 42% of adults reported symptoms of anxiety or depression, increased by COVID, obviously. Yep. And then 60% of youth with major depression do not receive any mental health treatment. Yep. 56% of adults in the U.S. with mental illness receive no treatment, which is just wild to me.
Yeah.
The average delay between the onset of mental health symptoms and receiving treatment is 11 years.
Yeah. Another stigma.
Yeah. Mental health workforce shortages affect care access in the U.S., with an estimated 6,398 areas designated as mental health professional shortage areas. So there's just not enough help out there.
It's a lot of areas.
A lot of disparities, guys. And, mental health is it's not like it's getting more progressive in terms of, the people getting it, but we're understanding it more, so we're realizing that more people are dealing with these things and need help. That's kind of what's happening in America right now. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on mental health, and we will relate it to cannabis in a few ways because, what is cannabis? Why do we use cannabis? We use it to change our mood, right? To change the state of mind that you're currently in, which is the basis of mental health, right? You're feeling a certain way, you want some relief, you use a substance of some kind.
Sure.
For me, that answer is marijuana, and has been for a long time until recently, where I'm, addressing the actual issues I'm dealing with. But it can be life-destroying. Any one of these particular issues undealt with, it can lead to so much. So what I wanted to do is just do a mental health journey concerning myself, because my story covers a lot of what falls under the umbrella of mental illness. So let's just go, and you guys can jump in with questions whenever you want as I'm talking here. But so my mental health journey up until college, educationally and scholastically, I was a good student, right? I didn't really have many issues before I left home. So, but however, as I got older, kind of in my high school years, I started to have issues with anxiety. I started to have issues with social anxiety a lot, and kind of, my anxiety had manifested in a very physical manner. Okay. I would get like this nauseous feeling a lot when I was feeling anxious, right? And it was just the start of what would be a very long issue for me. So I grew up in a suburban area, very much like Mount Laurel. I had 2 professional parents. I had access to all the health care I needed to deal with any potential issues, right? So let's just say I had a 3.7 grade point average in high school before I went to college, right? Mm-hmm. So this is 2001. I get to college, right? I'm expecting to do great. I'm expecting to be some kind of corporate officer within 4 to 5 years and be running AOL at the time, because America Online was all the rage then still.
Instant messaging.
Oh, yeah.
Away messaging.
I was going to be Mr. Corporate guy, right? And that's because that's what I was emulating was my parents, right? Because they were, both in the pharmaceutical industry. I was sure that I belonged there as well, right? But when I got to college, man, there's one thing that was seriously missing that began to reveal that I was having an issue, and that was structure, right? My mother was a single parent for many years. So being a single parent, I just lost my place. What was I talking about?
Yes, it was a lack of structure.
Lack of structure. You see? Lack of structure. So my mother had a huge amount of structure in our lives, right? Dinner was planned out every week. The activities were planned. Homework time was planned. I had very little downtime to make my own plans, right? So and studying wise, like I didn't have to do much studying. I did it in school. I listened as well as I could, and I was interested in learning at the time. So it was easy for me to kind of not have to do a huge amount of outside school studying and still do well on most of my tests. Yep. When I got to college and I was responsible for the structure, my life and world began to my educational world at least, began to kind of have serious issues. Without somebody telling me what to study, when to study, and so many distractions outside of class in college, I could not bring myself to concentrate or study or anything else like that. I went to school in Miami, Florida, which is huge, not huge, but it's probably not the best place for me to go, right? Because distraction is in Miami's DNA. Yeah. Right. The Miami Hurricanes, which is, my alma mater at this point, the U, they were doing great when I get to college. They won 2 national championships.
They were hot back then.
They were hot as hit. They're getting hot again.
Football,
by the way.
Right?
Yeah. College football. They're getting hot again, folks. Last night, they was kicking ass. Nothing to do with this. But, there was the beach. There was the club. There were drugs.
Beautiful women everywhere in Miami.
Women everywhere. Yeah. So these distractions made it so that I was not able to focus. And not being able to focus and not performing like I should have in college began to give me a lot of anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of anxiety. I couldn't take tests. Projects suffered for me. It was very hard to get through my daily educational regimen, and things began to fall apart. I started taking less classes. I was able to maintain about a C average by the end, right? In 2006, 2005, all of the kids I went to college with started to graduate. And I went ahead and walked, as it were, because potentially I could have graduated that year. But my last year in college was a disaster. Because by that time, I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with what was at the time called bipolar disorder. I was dealing with tons of anxiety, and I could not educationally function. Through this time as well, I began to a lot of kind of substance abuse. Not being able to understand what was happening in my brain caused me to want to just escape a lot.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So whatever substance was around, usually cocaine and weed, those were my go-tos. Also, I used a good bit of Xanax because they were prescribing this shit like fucking Skittles.
Wow.
In the early 2000s. So having those substances readily accessible for me kind of caused more problems because I just wasn't understanding why I couldn't do these things, right?
And there's a reason people try drugs. Everyone's like, why'd you even do it? Well, it works. You know what I mean? Like, they have certain effects, and it does change your mood. So
yes,
that makes sense.
Exactly. To me, in the short term, it will take you out of whatever mood you're dealing with. It's only the cumulative effect on your life is the issue, right? If people could take something a couple times and just put it aside, that would be fine. But that's not how they work. Right. For me, I eventually would find out that I have ADHD, but this wouldn't happen until I was like 39, right? So I went through 20 years of this shit, 25 years of this shit, where I did not understand what was going on. Luckily, in that time, and because of the resources I had, I was able to stumble along. I eventually graduated in around 2008 because I had to go back to school after starting to deal with these things at home. I went to a couple rehabs. I was always in therapy and seeing psychiatrists trying to figure this out, right? During this time, the one constant was marijuana for me. I would use it to kind of just anesthetize myself, and it was always there to help me deal with the physical symptoms of my anxiety. It helped me kind of just survive, right? It was a coping mechanism for me, and it was hugely helpful for me to do that because without any other answer, I was suffering. But because I had a mother that understood the medical world, I was able to get help for these things. But none of this helped because it wasn't till the industry began to understand ADHD a little more that we could see that I was suffering from all these different things, right? Bipolar disorder. I made a little list of just some of the things that, learning disorders, mood disorders, bipolar depression, anxiety disorders, social anxiety, panic disorder, executive functioning issues. These all fall under ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it wasn't these separate issues, which, depression, anxiety, it wasn't just that. It was the umbrella that
the
ADHD
entourage
is.
Effect.
And it caused all these things underneath it. So for me, I had to survive until I could get this diagnosis. And because I had my mother and my family and support, I was at least able to start a business. I was at least able to kind of look like I was doing okay on the outside. When on the inside, I was having a lot of trouble. It got to the point where my mother was taking care of most of the detail of my business because I simply couldn't do it sometimes. And that began to upset me after a while that I wasn't living up to what I thought I should do. That's when I truly began to understand and look for another answer, right? Because I was on all these, different meds to deal with separate issues, not understanding that there was one chief issue. And it wasn't until I started listening to others and kind of trying to find people like me that I started to understand I have ADHD. And a very good, my doctor who I've had since 1997 was the one that finally helped me break through and figure out what was going on with me. It was ADHD, and it had been with me my entire life.
Wow.
Like I said, that structure that I had before, during high school and school before, helped me kind of cover it up because the effects weren't as noticeable because I had such structure, which I thrive in structure. right? If you give me a plan and tell me where I need to be and what I need to do and don't let me kind of get off track, I am great, right? So the reason I'm telling you all this, guys, is because early intervention is important. The average time people go before they get help for some of these things, 10, 11 years. I just read the statistic to you.
Right, and yours was more like 20. Imagine someone maybe from the generation before us where it was like, oh, you have depression or you don't, and that's what it is. You know what I mean? You got a problem or you don't?
No, go ahead.
No, but it's like they used to divide it up. Like, even my family, we were just talking about this. Like, my sister and I, to some degree, have anxiety. Mm-hmm. Mine manifested more in sports and stuff like that and social a little bit. Mm-hmm. But my mom was like, well, when I was growing up, it was like you either you were depressed or you weren't. And that's what it was. A whole number of things got it classified under depression that really didn't even belong there. So it's like our own like human understanding of these things too. You know what I mean? It makes all that difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. The DSM-4, which is kind of the manual for mental health professionals.
Oh, right.
I think they're up to DSM-5. I have to check. They're at the DSM-5 now.
What does that stand for again? Do you remember? A girl I dated was going to school for social work, and that was the book like on the disorders. I remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
Yeah, that is that book is basically the Bible for psychiatric issues. And if you look back to the DSM-3, for instance, you'll see there is a marked difference in how they classify stuff, right? The field has progressed a lot in 20 years, and we understand and are starting to understand a whole lot more than we did, in the late 90s and beyond. And that has helped a lot of people start to address these issues because now they simply know that they have an issue, right?
Well, it's less than 100 years. The first one came out in 1952.
Yeah. So in 100 years, we have begun to, understand a lot more about the world. And, the whole mental health journey that we've all been on is getting worse because of the world we've built around us, right? Social media, the world moves a whole lot faster these days. Kids are under a whole lot more pressure than they used to be. You got school shootings, bombs, the news in general. My nephew has huge struggles as a kid because the world is just a lot more dangerous than it was when we grew up. I never had to worry about school shooters or bombs or planes flying into the Twin Towers when I was a kid.
Right, these are all realities that they have now.
Yeah, and it's just normal for them, and they worry about this stuff as they should, right? Kids shouldn't have to worry about this stuff. So from the very beginning of these kids' lives, they're just dealing with more, right? Social media doesn't help.
Definitely not. Social media probably puts a big strain on it because you're supposed to be, and it just fits right into like the anxiety and depression because you're supposed to project this image of I'm all good.
Yep.
And you feed that image, you know what I mean? But really it's like a sad thing. So
some of these people on social media are struggling mightily, man. Oh, yeah. But they look like things are great. Mm-hmm. Right? There are pictures on the beach, buying cars or whatever. Social media is not life.
No.
Okay? Right. It is an idealized representation of somebody's life because they obviously don't put all the struggle on there. Well, some people do. Mm-hmm. But, I try to tell my nephew that, listen, the social media is not life. Okay, you don't try to compare yourself to what people put on here because it's not reality. Yeah. So
it's not even just young people either. It's
absolutely
it's grown ass adults,
which also feeds the problem. Mm-hmm. Which also feeds that problem because they look and see, the adults in my life are all doing this, and it's all
Oh yeah, they're having kids, they're having this and that. I feel like I haven't reached that same. What's wrong with me? What? It's just a good way to send yourself into a depression, seeing everybody's great life on social media.
And you become obsessed with likes, and you're just constantly doom scrolling.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I still find myself, I try mightily not to do this, but if I get caught in one of my phone loops, because of the way my brain processes dopamine, I can just get caught and it's an hour later and I'm still looking at this bullshit.
Yep.
Because ADHD is a dopamine processing disorder at heart, right? And there are a lot of things that can just capture my attention, and it is hard to break away from, especially in the digital age. So that being said, we have a lot. Everybody at some point needs to help maintain their mental health.
Yeah.
Right. You have to get used to asking for help and seeking out professional help. Now, here's just a slight disclaimer, guys. I am not a mental health professional. Nobody here is. Right. All we can do is tell you our experiences and what's helped us personally, and maybe help you decide if you do need to seek professional help. Okay, that is the extent of my ability.
Right, I was gonna say that's about all we got for you.
Yeah, that's about all we got. And if you're in mental health crisis, or you're having thoughts of suicide, there are resources out there for you. There's prevention lines, hotlines where you can call and immediately get somebody to talk to you, because talking is very useful.
I'll put some in the description.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, check the
therapy. Talk therapy can be hugely helpful in exiting a crisis when you don't have any other options. So always reach for somebody.
Honestly, even if you don't think you have these problems, just going to a therapist in general, if you have the means to, is very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Aside from all these things, just talking with someone in that way.
Yeah, I just recently started seeing a weekly therapist about 2 months ago, because I've started treating my ADHD a couple years ago, but I hadn't gotten to the point where I was talking to somebody on a regular basis about what I'm going through. And since I have over the last 2 months, it's really helped. And I'm a big proponent of therapy, guys. Men especially. You guys need therapy, because men ain't doing well in many respects right now. The world is very different for men, women especially as well. Men and women need therapy to get through the tough times, guys.
Men and women, human beings.
Is it gay to go to therapy?
Is it gay to go to yes.
What's a gay to do?
It's extremely gay. No,
but not for the. Yeah,
I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. Therapy is just a smart thing to do, and it's actually, it's not masculine or feminine. It's just the right thing to do, because there's having somebody talk to you about your particular problems. It helps you see things from a different perspective. You might think something is a huge issue. You don't know what to do. The answers to your problem might be very simple, but because of your mental state, you need somebody else to tell you those things. Right. I consider myself pretty goddamn intelligent, but when it comes to advice and following those things, I need somebody else to tell me these things, because I can have all the answers. You can have all the answers and still not be able to apply them.
Absolutely.
That's where a therapist comes in to help you apply these things, because as I began to learn about ADHD and the pitfalls and where I could get help, I had the answers in my head, but I struggled in applying them. Right, I struggled in kind of making a plan to help me change the way I thought. ADHD was so bad for me that I am having to retrain my brain, right? And it's not something you can do quickly. My therapist says it takes 3 to 5 years to reach.
You're old.
Yeah, yeah. And guess what? I turned 42 in 4 days.
Wow.
Fuck.
A Libra.
I am a Libra. I'm very judgy. I'm very judgy. I got the scales right here.
Mine's the day before him.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow.
We're
2 Libras.
We're 2 Libras, birthday buddies.
Nice.
And now you see why we get along so well.
Yeah, and that's why we get along too, because Geminis and Libras get along.
Oh, you're a Gemini?
Gemini.
I'm just kidding.
That's June,
that's usually what everybody says. Yeah, June.
My wife's a Gemini, and
right, Gemini, Libra.
Honestly, I don't know what any traits are outside of Libra in the scales.
Right.
All I can know is that there's a lady doing this,
right,
and she's judging people.
I'm so indecisive too.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of ironic.
It is ironic, because choice paralysis is a thing for me too. Like Cheesecake Factory, oh man, that menu's too long, and I have to read every one.
Imagine being a waiter there.
Oh yeah, you're sitting there.
All the
What do you want?
Yeah, I had a friend that did that in college, and she.
You have to take her outside. Listen, we're in a fucking restaurant. Pick something to eat. Too many options is not helpful.
Yeah. And it feeds into anxiety and all that.
It does. Yeah. It does. That's why for a dispensary, for example, I was out at in Vegas, and they have the huge dispensary in Vegas, Planet
42, 52.
Planet something. Hold on, let me look this up, because if you ever go to Vegas, you should check this place out. Planet Cannabis. Planet 13. It's called Planet 13. It's like the Disney World of weed. Huh. But you go in there, and the menu is pages long, man.
Wow.
So I went in there. I went by myself because my wife would have killed herself waiting for me to look at every single product. But it's just too many options. And for somebody like me, that could be hugely time sinking, right? So if you ever go to Planet 13 out in Vegas, just watch yourself. Give yourself a lot of time. You're going to have issues. But anyway, folks, getting back to what we're talking about, cannabis and mental health. Like we've talked about my personal journey. By the way, if you want to, ask us any questions or, talk about your own experience, please go down the comments and kind of say what you got to say.
Absolutely.
We will respond.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about that.
We love
nothing too crazy with mental health and things like this, but like share your story.
Don't tell us you've killed anybody.
This is a safe space.
Yes.
This is a safe space.
Absolutely.
Until it gets illegal, it's a safe space.
Yeah.
And maybe even afterward, we take it underground.
No. But he's right, guys. It sometimes it takes just reaching out to somebody like us and saying, "Hey, this is what's going on. What do you think?" Right? I'm going to tell you to go see a mental health professional, but it still might help you get there just hearing that from somebody else. So do not hide these issues. Don't internalize them. Don't think they're just going to get better. You need to talk about this stuff. If you're feeling depressed, if you're having moments where you're what I call manic, which is just, seemingly super excited over a long period of time. If you're not sleeping well, right? If you're anxious about something for longer than is normal.
If you're crying over the stove because there's nothing to eat.
Yeah, that might happen. I don't cry, but I get anxious going in there. Like, all of this food takes at least 20 minutes to prepare. I want something now. And then there's a pack of bacon. I just say, you know what? We're just going to eat bacon for the whole day. Put it in the oven. It gets all the decisions out of the way. If you get hungry today, piece of bacon.
Yeah.
Don't do that every day.
Assault.
But she's right. Sometimes there are like coping mechanisms with getting through things as simple as there's no food in the fridge.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened in college for me. That's when I was like, all right, I need to go back. I need to go back to therapy.
Yeah.
I've been going to therapy on and off since I was 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And it got really bad when I was a senior in high school, and then it was okay. And then it got really bad again in college, like a sophomore, junior in college. Senior year especially, because that was during COVID.
That's when I was going through my worst issues too, is in college. And I think part of it is experiencing the freedom of making your own decisions.
For sure.
And
it's also the pressure of like
yes
of everything. Plus, you got so much money taken out.
Yep.
And you're only 18 years old.
Yep. There's a lot of pressure to financially be responsible, to educationally be responsible. Do the things like feeding yourself and buying new clothes. And
not only that, to commit to what you want to do at that time for the rest of your life is like a daunting thing.
It is.
Don't get me started on that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, no, you guys are both right because, it's for me, it was way too early to think about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I don't think that is a helpful thing we do to teenagers.
Oh, God, no.
I didn't care much beyond, like, I cared about like females and what I was doing and stuff, and like I didn't care much beyond that at like a certain point. I used to love when I always say, like, if I would have learned calculus and stuff, if they teach us calculus in like 6th grade, that's the peak time that I was like interested in math. You know what I mean? Like I could have really crushed some high level math. 6th grade, middle school, something like that. 18, 16, no fucking way.
Yeah.
No chance. Yeah.
No, I agree completely. And, I honestly did not figure out what I was going to do and what my life was going to be about probably till my 30s. Right? I started my business when I was 28, so that's potentially wrong. I knew in my late 20s what I really wanted to do.
Right. But that's not 16, you know what I mean?
It's not.
Certainly far away from 18.
And I'll be 25 when this episode comes out.
Yeah, so you're right on track. You're right on track. You're right where I was. When I started school, I was going to be a finance major. Yeah, fucking right.
Right. I was on the pre-med track. I could not be a nurse. I don't want to clean up after vomit and diarrhea and stuff. No.
Luckily, I went to art school for photography, so...
It might have helped to be art school. But, I thought I was going to be a finance major, so I'm learning all these things about finance. Numbers, I just don't do well with numbers.
That's a foreign language.
It is absolutely a foreign language. I can understand the concepts. Like, I can talk about finance. I ended up with a marketing degree, by the way, which is much more my speed. But the finance thing was just a bad choice for me. But I committed to it, and I didn't really realize how bad I was at this shit until I had to leave school without my diploma, right? And it was through that when I said, you know what, let me stop trying to force my brain into a hole that doesn't fit. You can't fit a square peg through a round hole.
Right.
And that's very much what I was going through. So the thing that I tended to be good at, one of the only things I tended to be good at in the business world was marketing at the time. I can understand marketing.
Right.
This is why I'm in the business I'm in today, retail. I understand how to explain things and help people make decisions about what to purchase.
Yep.
That's kind of where I ended up in the business world. But it worked for me, right? And when you have ADHD in particular, you have to find a way to get through life that is going to be semi-enjoyable. Because for me, I cannot do things that I don't enjoy, not as a repetitive task, right? Anything that I don't enjoy suffers for me. That's why I have help, and I try to plug in and get people that are good in the things I'm not good at.
Okay.
Because that's how you have to kind of cope and survive as somebody like me.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about cannabis and mental health real quick. Healthy cannabis use versus what we're going to call problematic cannabis use, right? That's not all the same, right? There are some people that use cannabis in a healthy manner, and then there are those that are using it more as a coping mechanism to not deal with whatever particular issue is causing them to use so much, right? So healthy cannabis use, right? I would consider that, after a long day at work, having, it used to be a beer, right? Right. Now it's a joint or a vape or whatever it is. Winding down after a long day at work, I think that's completely healthy use.
I think this is connected a lot to like the amount of use, because there's people that smoke from the moment they wake up to the moment you go to sleep. That can't be. That's
problematic use, and I used to be very much in that realm.
Same.
Right. I would dab 6 times a day, smoke a bunch every day. It was just a very, everyday process for me. I was doing it a lot. And what needed to happen for me was a change. And through my figuring out, I had
you want me to check it out?
That's my mother outside, guys. It's okay. But for me, it was just a ton of use, and it was helping me survive, right? At the time, this constant cannabis use was helping me survive because I did not have any answers.
When you say helping you survive, do you think it was like you were doing it to not think about certain things, or it was just because you're just high all the time and you're plugging away and time goes you don't know where?
For me, that physical feeling of anxiety, it was hard to get through the day because I was always feeling like I was going to vomit, or I was just having intense anxiety feelings. It made it so that I literally did not feel comfortable in my skin on a daily basis. And as things began to kind of break down for me and I wasn't able to follow a set schedule and all that stuff, the answer became anesthetize yourself as long as you can and just get through your day.
No.
Right. So that's problematic cannabis use.
Absolutely.
Because you are not using it so you don't have to address whatever the root problem is. Right. So, guys, if you find yourself smoking 6 times a day, all day, every day, you got to use it at social functions. You use it at, why? If you use it at all times of day, you should take a look at why.
Yeah.
Because the root of that issue might be a mental health concern. Right. And that is when you should seek out a professional and start talking to somebody or finding a group of people dealing with the same thing. Reddit, although it can sometimes be a cesspool, is actually a good wealth of people suffering from things.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
And then expressing about it, yeah.
And you will start to kind of find people that are dealing with the same thing they are, and they put their answers down, what works for them, how they got out of these particular issues. It's a good place to go. But that's what we mean healthy cannabis use versus problematic use. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but cannabis is now overtaking alcohol as the primary kind of intoxicant in the United States. And it's going to continue to happen. That's why alcohol businesses are kind of in trouble, because people are realizing that one is much less harmful than the other. Right? Marijuana is far less harmful on a long-term basis than alcohol.
Absolutely.
Alcohol, drinking every day, is hugely deleterious to the system.
Yeah.
Especially, over drinking. I am one that thinks that there's no amount of daily drinking that's safe or not harmful. It's all harmful. I haven't
even the wine thing for the antioxidants. Or
yeah, well, I really think
non-addictive.
those studies that say drinking 1 glass of wine a day, I think those were ways for people to continue to drink.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a lot of those. And that's the thing. These things weasel away. Oh, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere or whatever. These expressions become whole things because people are looking to get away from their mental issues or otherwise.
Exactly. So all of those studies that told you it's okay to drink, I think they were just trying to prove a point, and the point was you can continue to drink, right? So you always got to watch studies like that, guy. When you see these studies that give you a particular, and I always look at the actual study, right? How big was the sample group? How long was the clinical trial done? All of these things, by tampering with these, you can get whatever kind of answer you want out of statistics if you just kind of build the trial right. But this can be an issue with any drugs, right? Drugs don't all have to be a problem, right? Sometimes I don't think there's an issue with trying something once or twice or something like that. The issue becomes rampant daily use, where you're using stuff all the time. That is where the issue comes in. So this is with anything. There are some things that just ain't recreational, but there's stuff that you can have readily access to, right? Anything that you are using in a more than suggested manner needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And you should get some help for
And that's the first step, is looking at it, because that's why you're doing it in the first place, is you don't want to look at this, whatever it is over here, you don't want to look, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that first step is just looking at it. Like you said, it's a good thing to just examine it. Why? Ask yourself.
Yeah, because trust me, being that kind of high all day, and you're going, parts of your life are going to suffer, right?
Absolutely.
Whether it's your studies, your work, your relationships, smoking all day every day will affect those parts of your life, and if you don't figure them out, they could get pretty bad.
What about Snoop Dogg?
What about him?
He smokes all day, every day.
Oh, yeah.
He can't
Snoop
possibly
Dogg,
smoke all day, every day.
Yeah.
But
he first of all, Snoop Dogg is one of those guys that's kind of just made it and can do whatever he wants. There's some people
Especially
that,
by now.
Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, these guys are, they've made their lives with. But I'm sure they don't do it all day, every day, especially when they're doing, work and stuff like that. Now, Snoop, I've heard he's hilarious on the set of whatever he's doing. Listen, there's aberrations like Snoop Dogg. These guys just made of weed. Love this guy. But don't compare yourself to Snoop Dogg because
You are not Snoop Dogg.
You're not Snoop Dogg.
Right. I'm a little bit like Snoop Dogg, but I'm not Snoop Dogg. Yeah, to be clear.
You're a Snoop puppy.
I would love to talk about
Snoop
how
Lion.
Alex compares himself to Snoop. Snoop had a great Olympics.
Snoop.
I have never seen a black man enjoy the Olympics so much. I was happy every day just watching him be happy about the Olympics. It was great.
I wish I could have seen more Olympics. I hate that I missed him the most.
Dude,
Most of it.
first of all, they paid him a lot of money,
Oh,
so that might have helped. But this guy had a great time at the Olympics, and now everybody sees Snoop. Smoking weed as a living can make you Snoop Dogg. So don't let your parents tell you that weed.
He was also a very talented rapper, though, and musician and all that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like it was just.
He actually, he's one of my favorites.
Yes.
In the 90s, I had every Snoop Dogg album. I don't know when the last one he made is, but I'm going to buy that too.
Sensual Seduction. No.
Was that a good song?
I like it, but it's just because I was from that age.
Problematic song. Sensual Seduction. But anyway, guys, we're approaching the end of our time here. So I want you guys to ask us questions and ask for help.
Yeah.
Okay. If these topics have in any way perked your ears up, right, and you think maybe I should seek some help, go seek the help, because there's no downside to asking for help. It's really, my therapist tells me that the asking for help is one of the most beneficial things that I don't do often, right? The world, you think that all these responsibilities you have, they're on your shoulders and there's nobody out there to help you. People will help you. And if you don't have those people, seek them out in one of these groups on Reddit or a support group or something, because people want to help, especially when they know what you're going through.
Oh yeah, and don't think that what you're going through is unique and it's whatever. Even though it has its own unique features, sure, it's just like a lot of what else is going on.
It is. Everybody struggles, right? Even the most rich people among us, they have the same problems you do. Right, money doesn't solve these problems,
but it does get you better situation where you can get help, right, as opposed to maybe
it does put you in a position to get the help you need, but
more money, more problems is an expression that
the same issue though. Even the richest people in the world, they don't get help either sometimes.
Yeah, like Robin Williams.
Yeah.
But he had a brain tumor.
Well, but that was a mental disorder.
Absolutely, and he fought with it for decades.
Yeah. Comedians in general, Alex. There's a lot of comedians that suffer with trauma and mental health issues. Addiction.
Big in the comedy world, but luckily I already went through mine.
There you go.
I mean? So
that's when it helps when you're through it.
Right.
You don't want to be going through it. That's not necessarily funny.
That's true though. But now that it's been a few years, like I feel better every day. You know what I mean? Like, but it took that much. In that first year, I wasn't myself. You know what I mean? Even though I thought, okay, I'm better. I'm not withdrawing or whatever. Like, I wasn't back to myself. But then, now that it's been a few, every single day, like it's a market, improvement.
Well, it's not a light switch, right? It's a sliding improvement that gets better the longer you deal with it.
And that 3 to 5 year mark, like you said, that's funny because that's right about where.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not just with ADHD. That 3 to 5 year is basically retraining your brain with good habits and not doing the things that got you where you are in the first place. Now, a lot of that can be about medication, right? We haven't really talked about medication. We will talk about medication last here and then kind of close out. But there are a couple schools of thought with medication. Some people are very against it. Some people, take too much. I think it can be helpful, right? You have to deal with the therapy part of it, and then you have to deal with the chemical part of it. Sometimes the depression and anxieties, these are chemical imbalances, right? It means that your brain isn't producing too much of a certain chemical, which can cause you all of these issues, right? So listen to your medical professional, take their advice. And if they suggest you take meds, there's nothing wrong with trying those meds. Now, if those meds begin to help you, you have to stay consistent in taking them, right? A lot of people stop taking whatever meds they're on when they stop working. If the doctor has not told you to do that, don't do that, right? You follow their advice until you're better. Now, do you have to be on this med for the rest of your life? Maybe. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's millions of people like that. Mm-hmm. But well, my point is, don't let taking meds be a stigma for you, because everybody needs some type of help, guys. And
shout out to Lexapro.
Shout out to Lexapro. Shout out to Adderall. Shout out to Strattera. I've been on a lot of meds over the years, guys, and it's only through that process that I ended up where I was. And a lot of these meds, dealt with a specific problem, but not the umbrella. But I'm glad I did it. Also, too,
it takes a while to find the right medication. Luckily for me, the first one that I tried was Lexapro, and that has been that's been my homie for 6 years.
Yeah, you're lucky that that worked for you.
But if it doesn't work, try it for 2-3 weeks, and if it, like I said, if it doesn't work, then try something else.
Yeah, because it's a lot like a key fitting a lock, right? Your particular brain needs one particular answer, and if one med doesn't do it, you have to keep trying them until
with your doctor's
advice,
please.
But keep on going until you find an answer, because there may not be an answer, but you won't know that until you go through the steps. A lot of the meds that these doctors gives us, it's the doctor's trial. It's trial and error, right? They don't know it's going to work, but it's worked for a certain segment of the population. Right. Maybe it'll work for you. So they take you through these things until they find the answer for you. So in the end, guys, seek help. Okay, if you have no idea where to start, if you're thinking, man, I want to find some help, I don't know where to start. Discussion groups, peers with similar issues, doctors and therapists. Doctors, therapists, psychiatrists, they've never been more accessible than they are now.
Right.
Just go online and seek some help. If you have health care, you are halfway there. If you have health care, you are halfway there. Most of us do have health care now. There are some of those that don't, but there's still help for even those people that don't have good health care, right? Suicide prevention hotline, we will post if you're having any suicidal thoughts ever. Help is there. Yep. Mental health interventions, the same thing. We will post a hotline for that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And we're going to end it there for today. Alex, I didn't ask you, how's the comedy going, brother?
Comedy's going right. Good. It has been.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, it's been going really good. I did some stuff this past week. Was on a couple of shows. There was a comedian coming in from out of town at one of my favorite spots in Philly. Called Cigar Code. It was my third time there. I wasn't booked. I just showed up, but they let me get a spot anyway, which was cool. So nice. I got to perform with them, and I've been out every night this week, so I've been all over the place working on new jokes and stuff like that. I want to expand my little set. So
coming to an area near you soon, guys.
Talking about mental health.
Oh yeah,
comedy. Yeah.
Mental health and comedy. So, okay, guys, thank you for joining us for this episode. It is our 10th episode. For those of you guys that have watched a lot of our stuff, thank you so much.
Yeah, we love you.
Thank you so much.
And to those who are new, we appreciate you, and feel free to share your thoughts at the bottom here. We'll talk back.
You too. That too, I mean. So, good night. Good night. Good afternoon, guys. We'll see you next time.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good afternoon. We love you guys. Peace.